We're back. We're back with another weirdo buddy of mine. Tales from the Dark Side.
Hey, we don't know each other that good yet.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Tales from the Dark Side. T.A. Mahoney. Real animals. We're here telling stories today with my good friend Brian Watts. What's up, Brian?
Man, it's just good to be here. I tell you, with everything going on in this country today,
Yeah.
good to be sitting in here, I'll tell you that.
Good to laugh.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to tell some stories. What do you think about that?
As long as they're not lies, we're good.
I can't promise that because you know what my motto is. Don't
Yeah, I
ever
do.
let the truth get in the way of a good story.
That's right.
If you got to add a little bit of something to it, it's okay on a story, isn't it?
I guess if you got to be that way.
So let's hear it. How did we meet, Brian? Tell me about it. Your perception of me and you meeting and how it all started. Our friendship.
You know, was it when you moved in on me and Greg out there in Lake Charles trying to snucker in on our redfish?
No, that was
wasn't
well
it?
into the relationship.
I don't know. You and I.
I'm sitting on a spot and they drive by and I moved in on their spot. Okay.
You and I and Greg. Hey, let's just face it. Mahoney's been around a long time.
Yeah, and y'all been coming in shopping.
So long that I can't even remember. I mean, I remember when the store was downtown.
Oh, yeah.
But y'all had a big selection of what anglers needed.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like going to the local
Box store.
box
right.
store and buying only what they had. If you needed something special, you came to Mahoney's. If you didn't have it, you got it.
Right.
So, you know, it was always just like with fishing or catching fish, it's always those little things that matter.
Make the big difference.
Yeah, and then when you could find a store that would take care of all the little things, it made it real convenient. Because at that time we were about catching fish. It wasn't about the $2 or the 50 cent.
Right.
Everybody knew that you needed something that would work, catch fish. But we've been here a long time, and back when Greg and I started all this redfish stuff back in the early 2000s, y'all became a real good sponsor for me and Greg. It was a place to come to and rattle things off of y'all's brain a little bit and talk about things and pick up a few things that we needed to fish that tour with. So from then on, it's just been a pretty good relationship.
Right. Well, one of the greatest things, and I talk about this on some of the other shows that I've done, is I'd say almost all my friends, probably 98% of my buddies that I consider friends of mine, like yourself, have come through this store.
Absolutely.
I was in the store, and that's how I ended up meeting them. We had, I've had Chet Tharp, I've had the Croftons, I've had quite a few people, and all that have to do with fishing in this store, and that's where the relationship started. So I'm very, very thankful for the friends that I've gained over the years, and you guys. And one of the things I thought about, which is really nice having you on here, is the tournament fishing part of it. When you started the whole redfish thing, and I remember when redfish started, and I'm going back, we've talked about it before on the radio with the Bob Knees, I think, or Knies, or whatever it was, doing a local little tournament, Sarasota, Longboat Key, Tampa Bay. That was when all that tournament stuff started for saltwater inshore.
Yeah,
anyway.
you and I can talk for hours on this same topic situation, but Greg and I always fished all that local jackpot bass stuff back in the 80s. It was all the Central Florida lakes and
but no inshore was going on.
You had no
was it, what you were
inshore
fishing.
fishing. That's right. And then, like everybody, we all started having kids, and that became a priority. And we had the fiberglass business, and that was a big priority. And then, like you said, Bob Knees down in Sarasota started the SFFA.
Yep.
Saltwater flats fishing.
Yeah,
back in the, I guess, mid-90s, 96, 97. I started fishing that, but back then I was just primarily fly fishing, and they had a group for that fly fishing. They had fly, they had live bait, and they had artificial.
Artificial, right.
So you could enter Bob's tournament, and you had 3 different divisions that you were competing against 3 different series of anglers there. Met C.A. Richardson down there. He and I became just extraordinarily good friends down there because he and I loved to fly fish. We loved the same area, and it was a great fishing relationship between he and I. And
It's good to hear that that's exactly why you went in there. You know what I used to think? I used to think that you were fly fishing because there was only two people that you had to beat. And
CA was one of them.
And you could win the same amount of money. And I'm over here fishing maybe artificial. There was 15, and maybe live bait was, what, 25 people?
Yeah, it could have been.
So you had them all mixed up there.
Well, you know, the guy had a good idea there that he took care of any angling style you wanted.
Yeah,
to be honest
it was
with
a
you.
good. Except I think he stole money from himself.
Well,
and
I think there at the
embezzled.
end,
There was some shady stuff.
you know, we all fished that for 3 or 4 years, and then in 2000 we got word that there was a big redfish tour coming, the IFA.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and they
The
had
talk about it.
talk
anyway.
about it.
Yeah.
And the first event was up in Jacksonville.
How'd you decide when you heard that? Because you know, from that one step of, you know, us doing this local stuff from Sarasota to going full blown fishing a circuit, how did you approach that? How did you finance that?
Well, it was a situation where Greg and I looked at each other, and we love competition. Growing up as a twin, it's everyday competition.
Oh, yeah.
It's just if he beats me, I beat him, and you know, then you win. But I was fishing back when I was fly fishing a lot. I was using Redington rods, and they were down in Stewart, and Jim Murphy owned Redington, and he would let me go down there and get in what he would call just a garbage pile. He'd have 55-gallon drums full of butt sections and mid sections and tip sections, and I'd go down there and I'd piece together the exact kind of rod that I thought I wanted to fish with. And they came out with the IFA, and Greg and I said, man, we need to go try that because we're bass fishermen, and then we fished the SFFA, and we wanted to see what this red fishing was all about. You know, down here, and you can answer this, back in the early days of saltwater fishing, redfish was a trash fish.
Oh.
Man, if you wasn't catching snooks or big gator trout, you know,
Yeah.
that redfish was a bycatch.
You wouldn't even tell people. You'd come in from
Yeah.
the ramp and maybe catch a couple snook, couple trout,
Redfish
a couple
wasn't
reds.
nothing, yeah.
You wouldn't even tell people you kept a redfish.
I went down there to answer how we financed that. I went down there to Jim Murphy, and I sit there and I give him the whole spiel. I said, look, Greg and I want to do this. I said, we'll represent Redington rods on this tour. And that man sat right there and opened his checkbook and wrote me a check for $2,200 or $2,400, paid all those entry fees.
Wow.
And said, have a great time. I appreciate you. I said, no, we appreciate you more than you know. So given the situation of everything that Greg and I have been in for the last 20 years, or actually, 9 or 10 years of actually what I call big redfish tournaments, he started the whole thing by doing that right there. His generosity. And, every time I see him, and I haven't saw him in a couple of years, but I remind him of that, of what he created. And it's that simple. You ever remember being a kid and one of your daddy's friends give you a rod and a reel, and it might have been he didn't like it, but you did. And
Yeah.
maybe something that simple just changed things
Sure.
in your growing up in your life. So that started in
That was the beginning.
that was the beginning. And Greg and I, like I said, being competitive, it took us a couple of tournaments to actually figure out that we needed, your slot was 18 to 27, but your real slot's only about 1 inch, 26 to 27.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to make any money.
That's right.
You had to be right on that line.
The success, I can tell you from my point of view, watching it from the outside from the early years to those first 3 or 4 and then going at it a 10 strong, it went quick. I remember that was one of the reasons why I got in it. I thought to myself, if they're winning money,
Anybody can win money.
I'm head. So I put it together and gave it a shot for about 2 years, and you guys had a lot of clout. Y'all worked for it up there, and a lot of people respected you. You go to it was almost like the president. You'd go to the captain's meeting, and there'd be 50 people surrounding the Watts brothers as they
right,
just strolled in, getting out of a limousine. We were pulling up in pickup trucks. Did y'all have to tow your own boats, or did they tow the boats there for you?
No, we actually towed
Y'all
them.
actually
Yeah,
towed them,
contrary
but-
to belief, we
tough
pulled
to
them.
beat. I'll tell you how hard they are to beat every time, which wasn't many. I probably count them on 2 fingers, that I was ahead of the Watts brothers from the whole time I've known them. That was a win for me. You know, it truly was. I came in 7th one time. Lake Charles, I did real well, worked real hard, it paid off. I was ahead of them. That was first. I didn't care. People go, what place you come in? Ahead of the Watts brothers. That's what I'd tell them. I was ahead of them. You know I had to do good.
Didn't matter what place it was, did it?
No, they had a blown motor. They couldn't fish day 2, but I still beat them, and I let them know it. Right?
Well, you look at tournament fishing, and you know, CA was a lot of the same way.
He's a tough guy to
Tough
beat.
guy. Hey, look, there's people in Tampa Bay, and Greg and I have said this for 20 years, that chew me and Greg up and spit us out. Trust me. I mean, there's some great fishermen in Tampa. But when you start talking about a tournament scenario, and you start talking about you need 2,
Different fishermen.
and you start talking
You're
about you
right.
need them 26 to 27,
Right.
you quit looking for those. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. Greg and I quit looking for 100 fish schools. We started looking for 5 and 6, 7,
Yeah.
8 fish
2.
that's in the right zone,
That's right.
that if we could catch those, that's
Yeah.
all we needed to do. We do it 2 days in a row, and it's over.
Money.
So you know, it's more of a play in a game. It's more of being like you're deer hunting. Hey, look, anybody can go out and shoot a deer,
Right.
but you want to chase a 170, you got to do all the right things, and you got to do it all at the right time.
And be lucky, too.
And be lucky too.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was all real good for us, and the IFA was real good, and you know, we won a lot of boats.
A lot of team of the years. And,
Team of the years, yeah. We had Angler of the Year on all 3 tours at one time while they were all running. So Greg and I, you know, we prided ourselves in that, which was nothing but like I said, it was just hard work and thinking. It was a thinking game.
Yeah.
And then
it beat on you.
and then when ESPN came out in 03,
Yeah.
oh, it was game on, man. It was
yeah, that was big time.
freaking phenomenal. But
And really, that's what started all the tournament circuits and all the people fishing. You know,
Absolutely.
if you really think about it, it was back in those days and the boom that it had. You know, Bob was the guy we went at first, and his tournaments was probably a little before his time.
yeah,
He didn't hit it just right, but I remember all those other tournaments, and you had everybody jumping on, and that's what's important.
yeah.
You know,
Well,
I think they got some kind of championship coming up, don't they? Do you not fish at all
No,
anymore?
Greg and I fish no redfish tournaments whatsoever. We just got back from the World Redfish Series out there in Chalmette.
Yeah.
They've got the IFA Championship coming up here in a few weeks. I don't remember exactly when.
How was that Chalmette tournament? Who won it?
The same guys won it the first year, Eddie Adams and Sean O'Connell. You know, they fish real strong. Eddie's a big guy out there, so
Yeah.
you know, things
Locals. That
so,
area.
So you know how to handle that kind of situation and that pressure.
Yeah. Tough fishing.
A great event. Got to put it on to Gritter Griffin. He does a great event out there. I don't know how acclimated I'd be to going to Louisiana fishing every year
Right.
against that kind of information, because when ESPN came out, as you know, because you fish those events,
Right.
they give you a bunch of airtime on Saturday and Sunday mornings on ESPN. And what a lot of these tournament people, they understand this, but it's hard to get enough money generated to buy that kind of airtime, which
Sure.
when ESPN came in, and you get that kind of airtime, you bring in that kind of
Yeah.
sponsors. You bring in the big people and the big players, and they really want 2 or 3 teams out there representing their brand
That's right.
for TV, because every minute of that ESPN coverage you got, it was worth into the thousands of dollars at that point.
Sure.
Yeah. So,
And they did good. They teamed up with that. I remember when we were there in Chalmette, it was a lumberjack deal. So they were cutting trees and all that stuff.
and the dog jumping. They'd
Yeah,
have the
dog
water
jumping,
dogs.
and then they had, I mean, they stopped the town. That was,
Oh yeah.
to me,
It's
that was
huge.
incredible. We were pulling into the weigh-ins at this Coliseum area somewhere, and it was a Friday after, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
and they shut the town down for 125 boats to come rolling in
That's
there.
right.
You know,
And
just a
and
really,
you know that would all work again, but it's not going to work until somebody of that stature comes in and garners
yeah,
that kind of
that's for
airtime
sure.
to make it go. Because there's a lot of red fishing tournaments going on now, but they're more the local one day
That's right.
come in and get you a little bit kind of tournaments. But
Which are good too. It gives something.
yeah,
you know,
it's
the
real
working
good.
man's tournament.
Yeah.
You know, for to actually fish in that Boy Oberta tournament, the ESPN one, you took off 9 weeks a year, just
at least
for
yeah,
that,
at least.
just for that. So that it makes it tough.
And you know the thing about that organization, it was like fishing the Bassmasters Elite.
That's right.
You paid all your entry fees,
Up front.
and you went everywhere they went.
That's right.
So if we had to be in Kemah, Texas last week, we might have to be in Punta Gorda in 2 weeks. Well, if you didn't want to come to Florida, it didn't matter. You already paid your money.
Right.
You know, you might.
They
as well-
didn't care if you
might
didn't
as well
show
come-
up or not.
Yeah, I mean everything was already vested.
Yeah,
so.
you knew you were going, and you had your people that could step in if you needed to.
That's
I think
right.
they had
I
a
did.
alternate or something. But so what about hunting? You do any hunting?
You know, I didn't go last year,
No.
but I might go this year.
Who you gonna go with? You coming out to my place again? I think you're back to the top of the list. You know,
Well,
I've
it's
moved
only
you
been
right
about
in.
it's only been about 8 years, but I don't know what I've done to get to the bottom of it. But
Oh, okay. You want to talk? We can talk about it a little bit, huh? You didn't really do nothing. There was nothing bad you did. You just rode all over the property looking for a better stand. That's all. But it wasn't the fact you did something wrong. I got
well,
a
when
list.
somebody gives you a Maytag dryer box to sit in, you got about 35, 40 feet to shoot a deer.
With a
Something
big
wrong.
wasp nest up in the corner.
Big wasp nest. Yeah.
Up in the corner, live as can be. Yeah, go to that one. Sit still. Watch out. They may get you.
Don't move much.
Yeah, it was a good time. You're welcome to come this year.
You
Let's
still
set
got that
something
place up there?
Same place. I think it's been 18, 19 years now.
Wow.
Yep, real good. Feeding all year, lots of deer, managing, tons of does. We ain't shooting but much of them, you know, the does. We shot, last year my wife and my buddy's wife was the only one that killed a buck, which is fine with me. I usually go to Canada and have a good time, and, you know, that's kind of what I look for when I'm in the States, is hunting with my family and my kids, friends.
Yeah, it's
Putting my friends on deer. But what happens is you get friends, some of your friends you ask to go, and they think they know more than you do about your deer. So they want to go ride around and look at stuff and ride with the gun, have all their buddies with them. You invite him, you get 3 more. The whole truck's full. But it was fun.
Well, I thought it was a ride and shoot kind of deal.
Well, it can be, but you got to be there at the right time when we do that.
I guess. Hey, you know, I'm about to the point in my age of my life to where all that excitement and getting ready and going ain't worth going anymore. It's fun if I can snap my fingers and just be there.
Yeah. That's what's nice about having the camp up there. And what I can do for you, too, just have you throw your clothes in the truck, fly up there. I'll pick you up like a rock star. I know now you're working for Power Pole, Big Dog. You know, y'all fly everywhere. Y'all got a jet over there, don't you?
Am I still sponsored by Mahoney a little bit?
Yeah. What you want? You see
Well,
something in here you want? We work
No,
something
no,
out.
no, no, no.
It's just the contract.
I figured you could put me up and feed me for 2 or 3 days. And
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
But the contract kind of changes on what I expect back.
oh, does it?
That's all I'm saying. I sponsor you with whatever you want, Brian, but it's what you're going to give back is what's going to change.
I told you back when you give us a sponsorship, it was $25 of merchandise and 2 cookies out of that jar up front.
I gave you, I think, a free Coca-Cola, too, didn't I?
You might have done
Had
that.
one in the refrigerator.
Hey, but it got us through. That's all that matters.
Well, it was a start, you know, believe it or not. I've been on Chris Lane's sponsorship list before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, him and Tom, real good buddies, and used to come in here quite a bit. Kind of like y'all used to before you got real big time, and then I don't see you much anymore. Y'all driving around them power pole trucks and having a good old time.
Just making it rain, baby, is all we're doing.
Man, we're having a good time. Well, Brian, we got a break coming up. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and go at it some more, maybe tell a few stories.
Bring it on.
We'll be
We're
right
good.
back. We're back. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side. I got my buddy Brian Watts. We're telling stories. On the break there, we had one I think we need to talk about a little bit. Lake Charles. And when you were following me around, I had no idea. I was new to the tournament. I'm out poking around, and I got Brian all up
That's
in
why.
my mailbox.
That's why you were in my prop wash. What?
Yeah. What happened there? What were you telling everybody? That I went to where they were feeding redfish?
You know, the only thing I can think of
I
Lake
did
Charles.
good in Lake Charles. That was the only one I ever did good in.
Well, you should have done good there. They baited those fish up for you every day.
Wasn't against the rule. Wasn't
look.
against the rule.
Hey, there. If you ever been to Lake Charles, there's casino boats out there in Lake Charles. I pull up there one day and I see Mahoney. I said,
all up behind the boat.
I said, I told Greg, I said, that's got to be Mahoney. Yeah, that's Mahoney. And I'm sitting there going, that SOB's sitting up here where they feed these redfish every day. And literally, they'll throw scraps out of this boat every day.
They do. Inside information.
And, hey, and I pull up there and holler at him, and he gives me and Greg one of these.
Didn't want no part of that. Well, we were in a tournament. That was my honey hole for the next day. That was my go-to spot.
That was your go-to?
And I'm thinking, how in the world did they find out? What happened was we were there, and my buddy knew somebody, my partner in the tournament circuit, and he knew somebody that worked on a casino boat. And the guy says to him, hey, y'all looking for redfish? Yeah. Well, they're at the boat every day when we dump the food over. You just dump beans in the water, and you'll have all the redfish, beanie weenies. We were up there chumming with potato chips.
How many cell cats you catching?
None. We caught one, but they were kind of small redfish, but they got us through. We caught fish all up in my mailbox.
Well, we wasn't gonna fish there. I really didn't know about that spot. You just let the cat out of the bag.
Let the cat out of the bag.
Hey, but you know, Greg and I was just around the corner. There's a little old small creek in there. Now, you want to talk about bass fishing? There was a little small creek back there. And what most people don't understand, way back in Lake Charles, is fresh water. It's just, it just turns into brackish and then salt. But Greg and I would go into this creek, and on the sides of it would have lily pads. And then it narrowed down and it went into a creek, and it went into like a houses on one side of it, like a housing development. We would throw buzz baits up in those pads and catch a few fish, and then we'd get going down that creek.
And good fish. I mean, they weren't little ones.
We'd take those little gulp crabs on a 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce jig head and literally just ease down the bank where all those trees fell in on the water.
Yep.
And pitch those redfish would be in those trees, just rooting those
crabs.
Crazy. Yeah. So it was really that simple, and it was about finding the right two fish. But you could have had them right there where you were at too. I think probably a lot of that might have been time of the year, but you know, you didn't do anything illegal. That was a situation where you just get out and you learn something.
Let me tell you, it's not the first time I fished in a tournament from a dock where they feed them. Because if you look, you know, and you can contest to this too. You want to see the rules, right?
Absolutely.
When you look at a tournament, there's certain things, and that's what ultimately, a lot of times somebody wins. And if you know that person and they kind of tell you how they win, there's an advantage somewhere that they took that was not against the rules. Now, one of them could be running 75, 80 miles.
Bunch of that.
Right? If that's what you want to do and take off and run 80 miles and go fish somewhere else, we saw it. Those tournaments, those boats would, you know, the most we ran, I think one time was 70 miles when we caught fish in that chemical canal in Mississippi, and we were running from Alabama or something.
Well, you run all the way from that Florida-Alabama line
into
all the way across Mobile, all the way across Mississippi,
where we had to come out underneath the Mobile Bay in that bridge. That was pretty neat.
That tournament, Greg and I run 153 one way. We run back into Louisiana, but
from Alabama,
from Florida Alabama line.
Yeah.
And the reason we done that, there was 11 boats going to Louisiana. It was gonna be one in Louisiana. That's just the way that fishing is in Louisiana.
Yeah.
The only thing you got to watch when you start doing things like that is your weather condition. You didn't want any wind out of the anything that had south in it.
Yeah, you were done.
Yeah, you were done. You couldn't run.
Beat up.
Yeah, so
Break the boat apart.
Yeah, but you know we were like you. We were always looking 40, 50, 60 miles out, unless it was a situation like here at home. And I can remember where Greg and I won this. ESPN had these events where they took the top 25 anglers, and I done forgot what they All-Stars is what they called it.
I never made that.
Well, we won 70,000 looking at the Seminole boat ramp.
Wow.
Out in that intercoastal, and yes, it was a long way off, but it was a straight shot, and we're out there among those little islands. Everybody knows where it's at.
That's right.
And between those islands, there's just a bunch of little whoop-de-doos and sand holes.
That's right.
But you know, we wasn't fishing school fish. We were fishing 1s and 2s and 3s.
That's all you want in a
that's all you
right?
want.
Couple good bites and you're done.
But you know, you said a lot right there. I always called it maybe bumping the red line. You never cross that red line as far as rules go.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
rules are rules.
That's right.
Hey, but what you're trying to implement is that, look, we're going to read these rules. We're going to follow these rules. But if I can do something and still don't break the rule,
why not?
I didn't break the rules,
No.
but I got a little smarter than those other 56 anglers or those other 56 boats out there. That's what you're talking about. So
yeah, it was like I was in Boca Grande on an invitation-only tournament, and there was a guy down there. He's a family that's been there forever, and they feed trout fillets when you could keep them daily.
Big old snook, yeah.
Big snook at his dock, trout skins, trout heads, carcasses. He kept the fillets. He didn't feed the fillets to them, but he'd throw the rest to them. So I'm looking at the rules in this tournament, and I kind of know somebody who knows this guy, and everybody knows there's pet snook there, and everybody knows that you're not supposed to fish them. You may get shot by the property owner, if you're in there fishing them.
But then again, it wasn't illegal.
No, it wasn't illegal.
That's right.
Nope. It was everything, nothing in the rules. I said, let's go to the dock. I get the okay. It doesn't say anything about people giving you bait. There was 5 trout heads and a bucket of ice when I got there. I tied up.
Now here we go.
But there was nothing in the rules.
This is Mahoney status right here. Yeah, I'm getting it off.
You got to get the
Sorry,
advantage.
folks.
You got to tip the pendulum. There was nothing in the rules that said you can't go to the little snook. So I get on there, and of course there's only one guy fishing for him. 2 lure head, it's burning him up, but I ain't letting him put a rod in his hand because I know what he's going to do. Bunch of drama, lose the fish, and then we're going to give him sore mouth.
That's
so
right.
The first one in the water was a monster. Couldn't stop him. The next one, I think I got him. 36-incher. Think I got him. Yeah, he's in the middle of the canal, and here comes a boat down the canal, one of these rental boat deals down in Boca Grande where they got 9 people on it, barreling down the canal, and we're trying to get them to stop. Just give me a minute, and boom, landed him, took the picture, released him, and left.
How about that?
I'm good with that. That was nothing against the rules. It didn't, and I'd have told him that. I told the guy who put the tournament on, that's where I called him, because he said to me, how did you catch that fish within 6 minutes of takeoff? Because you had to take a picture of it with the token that you got at the captain's meeting an hour before. And then when he said go, 6 minutes later, I sent him a picture of a 36-incher. And I told him that's how I did it. So that's what it is, the same thing with any of these other rules.
But there's a lot of that goes on, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It ain't that you broke any rules. It's just you use your brain a little
You're
bit.
the reason why they make rules. The following year, then they say you can't go on land and fish off a dock. So I didn't.
That? Yeah.
Well, I let them know. Then you got to look for another angle. You got to look for something that's going to benefit.
Hey,
you.
so look, tell me this. What made you quit fishing ESPN redfish?
I was tired of getting beat. It was, you think about it you put a lot of money, a lot of time. You got quite a bit of rewards, right?
Right.
money. You had people sponsoring you to help pay for some of your expenses, which is a lot of expenses. And I had, my store, I was always proud that I was independent. I didn't need a bunch of sponsors. I did have a motor and a boat sponsor because that helps, so you're not spending all that money. But as far as the entry fees, hotels, and all that, we didn't have a ton of help. But I got nothing back. I honestly thought to myself, I'm on a national circuit pushing my business that doesn't even have a website at the time. So I kind of wasn't doing anything for my store.
You kind of went way over and beyond your
It's
expansion of people that was using the store.
And that's why I made a commitment. It was probably 8 years ago, I got out of it, and I said if I fish any tournaments or I support anything in the fishing world, it's going to be local, and that's what I've always done, and I'm not going to take away from that, you know. And that goes into something else that, along with you don't tournament fish no more, but work for the best company there is, Power Pole, right down the street.
Yeah,
great people.
I can't say enough about that company and John Oliverio and the people that run that organization. They have had Greg and I have had their total support for 20 years. I can go back and remember the day John threw what was almost a power pole prototype on my concrete floor at the fiberglass shop and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Pick that up and get it off my damn floor." And I sit there and I look at that, and then I look at now, and of course, Greg and I have been there for the last 10 years working inside the office since we quit tournament fishing.
Right.
We do nothing but travel and do PR work and shake hands, kiss babies, and put out little fires everywhere we go, dealing with nothing but and no disrespect, but to the bubbas, to the great bubbas of the world. Right. And that's just who me and you are. We come from that realm. We're always going to be those kind of people.
Right.
We ain't car salesmen. I don't want to buy nothing. I don't want somebody to try to sell me something. Somebody walk in here and ask you about a rod, you're going to give them the best information you can give them.
That's right.
You don't care if he buys a $60 rod or a $360 rod. You're going to try to take care of that man's aspects on what you think he wants to fish with.
Right.
So when you do
works.
you build customers for a lifetime.
Right.
And John knew how to do that, and thank goodness he's got me and Greg out there along with those guys in that office. And look, since all this COVID, we didn't know 6 months ago that we needed to order 3 times the materials that we had in stock, or interview and hire a double work staff, or like anything else. Just like Trump, he didn't know how to handle this whole COVID thing, like with a lot of the government. So you do the best you can do. We've got guys in that production that's working 6 days a week. We got supervisors that just relentlessly are busy and working, and Greg and I, we've got some people in there that's been working in production, helping those guys for 4 or 5 months. We're finally we're seeing a little window where we're kind of getting on top of this, and you being our first and one of our best dealers here locally, you saw the draw that it's had on you with people walking in wanting to buy a product. They're ready to buy,
now.
They're ready to use it now.
That's right.
And they look at you and go, "What do you mean, Mahoney? You can't." Well, look, it ain't you. It's getting this product. I mean, you're one of the best we got. So, we try to take care of those people, and we're always going to do that. But we're getting on top of that. But yeah, great organization. We had people like those, Berkeley, Evan Rude. Man, we had some great people standing there behind us, doing what we love to do. Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you this, you didn't get to enjoy on that circuit. You really didn't get to enjoy the towns you were in and what they had to offer. I remember my wife calling one time, and I was on the top floor of some condos where the guy gave us a place to stay.
Right.
And it was in Texas, and it was overlooking a pass. And I don't remember what pass it was or whatever, but I was explaining it to her, and she goes, "Wow, it must be beautiful. You must be having a great time." I said, "Well, I see this for about 10 minutes a day."
Exactly.
At the end of the day, at the night, I look out there, and then I go to bed, wake up at dark 100, and you're on the water. You're not out there driving around to the local sites, Lake Charles
Well,
or New Orleans or wherever you're at.
You were like us and a lot of guys. At daylight, you were fishing.
Oh yeah.
By 5:30 in the afternoon, you were hoping you could be close to the boat ramp where you could load your boat, go eat dinner, go re-rig,
fill it up,
put
it on charge.
and do it. Hey, and then you got 3 or 4 or 5 days of that. Then you got at least 2 days of tournament fishing.
Right. And
So-
I say the same thing. There's a lot of people out there that think they want to fish. Well, it's really time on the water. And then
Absolutely.
different people have different passions. And when you pair up with people that have the same passion as you, like it's for me and you to fish 5 days straight, 7 days straight, it's a walk in the park, to be honest with you. I mean, sometimes it'll hurt and sore and all that, and offshore is a little different than inshore, but you can keep going as long as there is to go because you're a fisherman.
Right.
You know, now we take it easy and say, well, I want to go on the good days. I want to go on, but when it comes down to winning money, you, myself, and a bunch of other people, you got that desire. You're there to fish and win. It's not a party.
Well, you got, just like a lot of these organizations going on now, I feel sad for those great anglers we have out there because there's some good people. They just don't have that avenue that we had back then of representing ourselves on a media platform that was so big
Right.
that it garnered the bigger people that wanted to come play, the
That's
bigger
right.
sponsors.
Yep.
That's just the way it is, and I hope that will change with time. But until that happens, it's not going to change.
Well, now y'all have a some kind of circuit, right? A power pole tournament.
Well, that's not us. That's Kent Hickman. That's we're just a big player in his organization for his tournaments. So
Okay.
that has nothing really to do with us. We don't have anything locally inside our office that holds those
I got
tournaments.
you. You
Yeah.
sponsor that one.
Sponsor that
and that
one.
one's similar. It's a several tournaments and a circuit.
Yeah, I think they do several different things. They were doing the buddy tournaments. I think they had one today. It was where you catch a fish and you live video
stream
feed,
it,
live
yeah.
stream. Yeah,
They're all different ways.
it's all different ways to play.
Somebody's going to figure that out just like they did when we were talking 25, 30 years ago and how it boomed so fast. Well, especially with what's going on since the first of the year, things are changing to make sure that's not going to be affected. And maybe the answer is that live stream. You know, you don't have to go meet it. I kind of like being in that room with all the anglers, and I know other people feel the same way.
Yeah.
And whether you talk trash a little bit or where you've been, you know.
Well, everybody's going to talk trash. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of you viewers out there that saw
I'll
me
talk
and
a little
Mike.
bit.
You know, that's trash talking this guy in Tampa, man.
I've been tamed today.
You know, we probably ought to touch on this a little bit. I know we're kind of coming close to ending this segment.
Yep. We're going to get something rolling.
Hey, we haven't forgot about this 3 tournament thing, and you know, it won't hurt my feelings. Look, I've lost to the best, and I've beat the best, so it ain't gonna hurt my feelings to fish against you whatsoever.
I think the real
The
nailing.
only thing I'm concerned with is I don't want Tom and the store to start going downhill when you really belly out on this thing. I want it to maintain and stay going like it is.
Well, you know the
Because
one.
hey, look, I might be old, but I ain't got no quit in me.
Let me
You know
tell
what
you
I mean?
this. I've got about a 50-50 chance of winning in my eyes. The inshore and the bass fishing. So if I can come up with a win on either one of those, I know one thing, I'm putting the nail in the coffin when it comes to offshore. Because old prep school boy.
At least you have a positive attitude,
you-
brother.
I think
At
we-
least a positive attitude. You guys remember that out there.
Powder
when
puff
he-
boy
when
went
he
to prep
when-
school.
Hey,
and
when
gonna
he's
get
on here
whipped.
one day by himself going, well, let me tell you how it really was, guys. Hey, you either win or you lose.
That's
You're
it.
either a big winner or a big loser.
And it don't matter either way. We're going to do it for something good and have a good time, laugh, cut up the whole time.
Hey, but Mike and I, you know, with the help of Jeff Horn down there, I think he's going to end up taking you and I
That's the
on the
inshore
same
one.
boat,
I
on
agree.
the inshore.
I'm good with that.
I think I got the bass fishing rigged out where we can go, and it would be you really don't want me bass fishing, but I think I can get you on a level playing field. All I want's a fair advantage, man.
Yeah, you got it. We'll go
So-
wherever you want. And if you got
Hey,
a
but that
problem,
offshore
why
thing,
don't
you
we
probably
just-
got a little handle on that offshore.
well, we're going to be on the same boat. That's the key. So it's not. A lot of times when you see tournaments, it may be somebody, the captain's boat or something.
That's
We're
right.
going to fish on the same boat, same equipment.
And just after me hearing that snook story you told, you're not being on somebody else's boat.
Oh, you better.
I'm
have
gonna
your
be there
eyes
with
on me.
these.
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, but it's coming down, guys. And look, we've been buddies a long time, but the only thing he's ever wanted to do for the last 25 or 30 years was say he beat a Watts brother.
You're right.
So
You're right.
we're going to work this out where it's going to be a 3 fishing event. I want y'all just to maintain and hang on.
Well, you
We're,
talk trash.
we're going
What'd you
we're
have-
going to try to build this thing up. Hey, we talked about charity on Facebook here a while back.
Yeah, I'm all
We're
for
going to
it.
sponsor something.
I'm all for it.
And we're gonna get it worked out, and it's going down. It's gonna be nasty.
I'm fine with that. It ain't. It's all in a.
Well, you're
it's
fine
a
with that.
walk in
You're
the
fine
park.
with that now, but you
Bro,
know you
I'm-
got deer season coming up. So
I'm
when
pe-
you're sitting out there in the deer stand and you're just all snubbing and wiping your nose with the Kleenex, and you're thinking about losing,
You
and
talking about me?
yeah,
That ain't gonna happen, bro.
Okay.
I'm Peyton Manning on a bad day.
okay.
Okay. Bad day. I'm Peyton Manning. That's a walk in the park beating the Watts.
That's all
brothers.
that's
You've
all
been
it's gonna
catching
be.
I give you the bass. I even forfeit that one, and I'm gonna spank that ass.
Maybe you want
offshore and inshore. is what I'm
maybe
gonna
you
do.
want Tom to take your place on bass
Who,
fishing.
Tom?
Yeah,
We could.
he's a damn good bass
You know what?
fisherman. Now,
If
that'd
we
be
can
more-
have an alternate,
that'd be
I
more
will
of a
put
challenge.
Tom in. I'll take you up on that. I may put Tom in on the bass because he damn sure can catch them.
You know, if we work him in and Greg in,
There you go.
boy,
we
that
may
could-
have something good.
That could be a little battle royale right there.
We'll get a little video going. I appreciate you coming out today,
Hey,
Brian.
I appreciate
had a great
you,
time,
brother.
man.
I tell
Thanks
you.
for listening. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, y'all keep the fishing up out there. Bring this redfish stuff up. Anytime that y'all want to g-haul about something, get with me and Mike. Just
I'm ready.
there ain't much we can take you through, but we've saw everything from start to finish but it's all good. But I appreciate you,
Appreciate
buddy.
it, Brian. Y'all have a good night.